Do you have questions on how to properly care for your pet? When is the right time to get your pet spayed or neutered? Or maybe you're looking for a place for your pet to stay while you go on vacation. Mapleview Animal Hospital. Dr. Bader from Mapleview Animal Hospital gives you great advice for your pets. Mapleview Animal Hospital on Panther Drive at the corner of Riley and 136th on Holland's North Side. And on the web at mapleview.animalhospital.net. Mapleview Animal Hospital. They love your pet like you do.
Well, welcome to Gentex. It gives us great pleasure to introduce Governor Snyder and to support this event. The greatest factor in any business, as we all know, is people. And, you know, your biggest asset walks in the door every morning. So our business is successful in Michigan. I'm not from here. I'm from all over. Moved 16 times growing up. But I found this to be an absolutely wonderful place to have a workforce. And I think our success is directly due to the type of workforce we've had, very talented, very capable. The more we do to leverage our strength in the community between education and employers and workforce and manufacturing especially, I think the better off everyone is. People looking for jobs are better off. People that are employed already have better jobs and more affluence. It's good for the communities. It's good for the state. So we're excited to announce this because it's a great way to leverage the strength of the state. And I think we in West Michigan here are absolutely delighted to be the first to initiate this project through the state of Michigan. So with that, let me introduce Kevin Stotts. Kevin, there you go.
Thank you, Fred.
You bet.
Thank you. Well, welcome and thank you for coming. Fred, thank you very much to Gentex to rolling out the red carpet for us. It's been always very good to work with you and your team. And as you say, talent is the #1 resource, and you've got a great set of talent and leaders here, so thank you. Talent 2025 is a coalition of 80 CEOs from across West Michigan have come together really to make the region a top 20 region by 2025. And we think talent is at the heart of that success. We look at sort of the goals of achieving that vision really pretty straightforward. You know, it's to catalyze an integrated talent system where talent supply matches the need of employers or demand, and that the credentials of the workforce, the knowledge, skills, and abilities are in line with what employers need today and in the future. You know, the data from West Michigan employers tells us that by 2025, 64% of adults in the workforce will need some sort of credential, certificate, 2-year, or advanced degree. And so we look at ways or methods or strategies to align and connect talent to those occupations that are in demand today and in the future. So the work of Talent 2025 is pretty straightforward. We illuminate gaps in the talent system with data. We evaluate solutions, things that might be working here or across the state or across the country, and then we advocate for leading practices. So in our work, in our research, we identified the strategy that the state of Georgia had initiated called Work-Ready Communities, and Deb Lyons from ACT is who created that initiative and is now with ACT. We saw that and we liked it for a number of reasons. One, it really addressed a fundamental concern that employers in the region cited, in that they were not able to find talent with the foundational credentials. And the initiative leverages the National Career Readiness Certificate and the Work Keys Test, which really validates an employer's candidate's ability to meet the needs of an employer by testing for applied mathematics, locating information, and reading for comprehension. So the other great thing about the initiative is that 17 other states were already beginning to pilot it, and Michigan is one of those 17 now. But it took a lot of effort. It took the support of Christine Quinn with the Workforce Development Agency, who is here. I'm looking around for her, so I want to acknowledge her and thank her for that. But in our work, we identified that the Work-Ready Community strategy was a leading practice. It was being initiated by other states across the country, And it really gave Michigan an opportunity to trade on what was already a strength for Michigan in its workforce and the number of NCRC credentials that are here. So we're happy to be a part of this event and to work with our core team and made this possible. And we're excited that West Michigan can be a pilot for the state of Michigan and connecting supply and demand with this great tool and this great resource. So I want to now welcome and introduce Jay Dunwell with Wolverine, Coil, and Spring, who's really been our employer champion going back years in terms of support of the NCRC and work keys. So Jay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. This certainly is an exciting day for those of us that have been on this journey and for those of us that are just getting started. Can I roll back the clock a little bit and just give you a little historical perspective on this? Over 10 years ago, local manufacturers went to our local superintendents and said, you know what, we've got a problem. We hire people with high school diplomas and put them to work in our entry-level positions, and they struggle. They can't quite get the job done. They don't seem to have the basic math and reading skills that our entry-level work requires. Well, wonderfully so, the Kent County superintendents came out and they said, we'll support that, we will guarantee our diploma. I pulled this out of my archives. This goes back over 10 years. This is the Kent County Guaranteed Diploma. That's where it all began, and here we are. Well, I volunteered to help Kent County implement this guarantee, and during that process we came across this emerging tool, the Work Keys Test and the National Career Readiness Certificate. Math, reading for information, and locating information, those are the three Work Keys tests that Kevin just mentioned that form the basis for this National Career Readiness Certificate. And based on the score, you can get a bronze, silver, gold, or you're a good nerd, you might get even a platinum. It could happen. National Career Readiness Certificate. Yet if you'll let me, there's a special magic about the Work Keys and the National Career Readiness Certificate. What that magic is we as employers, we can specifically map the NCRC score to our particular job descriptions in our business. For years, employers have told educators, we need more math. We better have better math skills out of our students. And educators have said, how much? Can you be more specific? Can you help me define how much more math you might need? Well, the magic of the NCRC is that we can specifically map that. We can specifically use tools like the estimator, which you can download from ACT, and you can use that tool with some content experts within your employee ranks to say, okay, you need about a 5 in math and a 4 in locating information and a 4 in reading, and that can map very specifically to a credential, and that allows an employer to prefer the NCRC credential at that level. Now, an employer can invest in a job profile where an outside professional analyzes the job and determines specifically the NCR scores, and they can therefore require a job candidate to have that NCRC score. So at this point, going back to Kent County, we said, well, why do we want to do a local credential? Why don't we want to join an effort, a national effort, of a portable foundational employment skills credential? So with great potential, we launched this effort. On the road we went. We went to Lansing, and we talked with our legislators, and we said, you give this Michigan merit exam, why don't you give a test that will tie to employability skills? The legislators gladly or happily, or at least they did, add those 3 Work Keys tests to the Michigan merit exam. So since 2009, every high school junior has taken those 3 Work Keys tests and most likely have earned an NCRC. We further traveled to our Michigan Works agencies around the state, and through their efforts, they allowed transitional workers the same opportunity that the emerging high schoolers had of earning a NCRC credential. So now we had this tremendous supply side firing on all cylinders, and my assumption was employers would welcome with open arms the demand for this credential and their hiring practices. What my assumption missed was that great recession that hit us about that time, and a lot of employers ceasing their hiring practices. Fortunately, the economy improved, and along came ACT's effort to recognize communities as work-ready. That means when there is a combination of a significant amount of NCRC credential earners, which our state ranks #1 in the nation, you'll probably hear a little bit more about that, matched with significant numbers of employers who recognize the value of the NCRC and utilize the tool to make better hiring decisions. Thereby, when those are combined, achieving work-ready designation by ACT. So with this economic development boost, along with Site Selection magazine designating the NCRC as a criteria for scoring well in their rankings, the time was right for Michigan to step into gear and exert our #1 position. Through this Work Ready Communities initiative, we've clarified our ask to both employers and educators. The ask to employers: prefer the NCRC in your hiring and promoting practices. Consider the NCRC 2 things: a seal of approval of a high school diploma that also depicts trainability. Those 2 things. If you go beyond that, you might be disappointed. It is not the silver bullet, but it helps in those 2 areas significantly. Every candidate brings a whole palette of knowledge, skills, abilities, work experience, education, and credentials on their resume. Simply prefer the NCRC along with all the other preferences you may have. If we as employers don't start bringing up the NCRC in our hiring practices, Karen McPhee of Ottawa ISD, who may be here today, made it very clear to me. She said, "Jay, this gift, the NCRC, from the taxpayers of the state of Michigan to the employers of the state of Michigan, it will go away if we don't start asking for it." The ask to our educator friends: understand the extent of your influence over students and student perceptions and how increasing their appreciation of performing well on the Work Keys tests and achieving their NCRC. Point out the growing number of employers that prefer the NCRC in their hiring practices: manufacturing, construction, healthcare, you name the industry cluster. There's more and more employers that are asking for it. Encourage your students to promote their NCRC achievement to employers as a way to possibly elevate them above other candidates. The NCRC can be the tool that both the employer and the student or job candidate can leverage for better hiring decisions. Along this journey, a number of bumps have cropped up and many have been smoothed out. We're working hard on that. Deborah, thank you for your help as well over at ACT. For example, how easily can a student who took the test during their Michigan Merit Exam attain their scores? How do they know what their scores were? Some of them were never told they're taking a Work Keys test that will get them a National Career Readiness Certificate. Thank you, Deborah. We have an ACT 1-800 number. Dial that number and they will help you connect to the URL address to their particular results, and they can then electronically share that with an employer. And you're working on an electronic PDF version. I hope that's coming soon so that that credential in its credential form can also be shared. Again, we want to make this tool as easy as possible to utilize. How about an employer? They may ask, where do I go to get testing? What are the dates? What are the locations? What are the times? Even what languages, because it is offered in Spanish. MichiganWorkReady.org, the website around this initiative, has links to those pieces of important information. Again, how can we make this tool as easy as possible for those to utilize? If a Work Keys test taker does not score as well as they would have liked to on their Work Keys test, KeyTrain is an online remediation tool to help boost those scores. Again, let's make it as easy as we can for those to utilize this tool. to conclude my remarks and to get to who you really want to listen to, the supply side is running on all cylinders. It's doing great. Michigan leads the nation. Combine that with increased employer awareness and employers preferring the NCRC, and Michigan will see all those businesses looking for good locations for growth and more counties certified as work ready. It's now my honor and privilege to introduce the man who very early in his career recognized the importance of talent to the economic health and success of our state and continues to push for those initiatives like Michigan Work Ready Communities that deliver tangible, quantifiable results, as only a good accountant would. Please join me in welcoming the governor of our great state of Michigan, Governor Rick Snyder.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Jay. I want to thank you for that wonderful explanation of being a work-ready community. It is really helpful, and it is a very important initiative, and I'm going to talk about that. Before I do, though, I do want to recognize it is wonderful to be here. Fred, thank you so much for hosting us, because Gentex is one of the great success stories, not only in Michigan, but the country. So this shows what you can do with innovation and creativity. So thank you, Fred. And I also want to give a second shout out that too often you may take this for granted being in West Michigan, but the Talent 2025 initiative, which started some years ago, is critically important, and it is making a difference. And that's one reason I was excited when the effort came about to say, where do we want to pilot this? Where do we want to start in terms of going statewide? There was no better place to do it because of the great leadership you have in this area with companies and educators coming together and really focusing on talent. So let's give Talent 2025 a shout out. Thank you, Kevin. Now let me step back, because you've heard a lot of details about the work keys, the programs. I think that was covered extremely well. Let me talk about some of the principles and the strategy, the vision behind it all. If you step back and look at one of the key goals we've had for the last few years, I've had ever since becoming governor, is more and better jobs and a future for our kids. How do you do that, though? There are several key steps that you have to achieve to make that happen. Particularly when you look at it from the government side. The way I view it is government's role is not to create the jobs, but to create the environment for success and let free enterprise work. And this is a step in making that happen. We've worked hard in a number of other areas. Tax reform, regulatory reform, all those kind of conditions in terms of making us a very competitive place. And those results are showing up. To give you one index on our entrepreneurial climate in the state, in 2008 we were ranked 41st. Today, actually in 2013, we're going to go up in 2014, we were ranked 6th. That's a huge improvement in terms of environment. And we've created nearly 300,000 private sector jobs, good, well-paying jobs. But the most important thing is an opportunity that we have to deal with a national problem. And that's a talent disconnect. The most important asset and resource we do have in the state is us, the people of the state of Michigan. And the question is, how do we deal with a system that, to be blunt, hasn't worked right for decades in many respects? We were fortunate for many decades there, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, that our economy was just growing fast enough where a lot of people had opportunity. But we're in a different world today. We're in a global economy where more skills are required, and you have to have the right skills at the right time, in the right place. So it requires more work, and that's what this is all about. I call it talent in the 3 C's, or what we're trying to achieve. If you stop back and think about it, the first C is about collaboration with the private sector. To be blunt, the private sector has not done a very good job of helping show where demand is for jobs. It's pretty fuzzy. Employers do post openings quite often, but if you really look, quite often, even today, you'll find they'll put one posting up and they'd actually like to hire 5 or 10 people. They only put one up because they can't fill that skilled trade job. Also, they have a lot of retirements coming, turnover coming in the next 5 and 10 years, and we don't know about that demand. That's something that needs to be corrected. So we need the private sector to come to the table and be much more open and proactive than they've been in the past. The second C is about creating talent, and that's our educational sector. Again, we've got a lot of outstanding educational places doing fine work, particularly the community colleges. I want to give a shout out to community colleges and intermediate school districts that are doing career tech ed in particular. Huge opportunity there, wonderful work. But again, in some cases, many cases, they may not be fully connected to the private sector, where the private sector is saying, these are the skills we need versus what's being taught. Or many young people may not know that that program's actually there. Because too often we've created an environment where parents and young people are sort of skipping over career tech education, thinking everyone needs a university degree. And that's not true. We need to have two equal tracks, a university track and a career tech ed track, and we need to emphasize that more and more. Huge opportunity. And that gets to the last C, about connecting these two worlds. So that's the exciting part of this program. I view the work keys and the certificate, part of this work ready initiative, is really bringing those two worlds closer together. The employers, in terms of saying, here are the skill sets that if we know we have those skill sets, we can have more confidence in hiring, in terms of giving opportunity to people, to accelerating their opportunity to have a great career. On the educational sector side and the student side, it's great to know that if you reach certain levels of achievement, you know what you need to strive for, what you need to try to achieve to be successful. And that's a great connection point. So that's the whole operation here, is how do we start bringing these two worlds together? Because they should be together. Is this important? I view this as a top priority, that I look towards the future. This is the number one item we need to be working on, are how to help people become better career connected, particularly in the skilled trades. And again, I want to redefine that because that gets skipped too often. When you talk about the skilled trades, it's not just welder, electrician, plumber. Those are awesome careers. If you're in manufacturing today, you're a skilled tradesperson. If you're in agriculture and you're driving a $500,000 combine or a $250,000 tractor, you're a skilled tradesperson. And this is our huge opportunity. What I will tell you also is a firm belief I have. When I talked about Michigan's economic future, we are coming back. Our single largest opportunity to lead the nation is by being the best at making this connection, by leveraging these tools appropriately in partnership. The jurisdiction that does the best job of helping people become career connected will be a draw for companies to stay and grow and to come to this place, because this will be such a national issue and problem over the next 5 to 10 years. This is our huge head start, folks. This is in our DNA, though. We know how to train people. We know how to make things. There's no place better in the country. And this is a place where we can leverage those resources, because people are being more proactive now, particularly in West Michigan, by saying, here are tools that bring us together. Here's ways we can win together. So I really am complimentary of this program. And I'm not just complimentary. I'm going to be standing behind this program pushing pretty hard, because it's the right thing to do, to create employment opportunities. And I know I have partners in the legislature that will join me in that. And it's great. I see Senator Meekoff and Representative Hoffman. We've got a great team of people that see this as a huge opportunity for all of us to win together. So let's not walk out of here today just saying this work-ready initiative is something new. This isn't just something new. This is something special. And so I say thank you to all the employers that have been part of this already for stepping forward and doing this. We had a session earlier where some of the employees that have participated in this and taken the work keys and seen the value of that, it chokes you up to see how far they've come, because it gave them confidence and opportunities that they might not have otherwise had. So let's take what we're learning today, what we've already seen happen right here in West Michigan, and be that role model and pilot for every corner of Michigan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Governor Snyder. It's very obvious your passion for talent, and obviously this room is filled with those that are similarly or hopefully equally as passionate about talent. I want to thank our friends at Gentex, Fred Bauer, for hosting today. It's been a wonderful location and facility. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank Talent 2025 and all of your staff for making this happen. So the stage is set, right? The website is up, michiganworkready.org. The employer sign-up forms are available to get more employers enrolled and expressing their support. You've heard some of the partners here. The employer champions share their stories as well. that the message that this NCRC is a great tool is ready to be shared. So to conclude, as we take a look at our state map, there it is. This is ACT's Work Ready Communities website showing the first counties in red, not pink, but in red, that have signed up to seek Work Ready designation. I'm excited that we are all launching this Work Ready Communities effort today, and I hope to see more counties light up, not only in red as seeking, but turning to gold as achieving their Work Ready Community designation. Thank you all for coming.